and welcome to the Women of Color in Business podcast. I am Lynette Cottrell, your host, and I am so delighted you decided to join us today. We are going on a transformative journey of embracing radical self-love and unlocking the full potential in both our personal and business lives. This podcast is dedicated to empowering us, Black women entrepreneurs, to break free from self-limiting beliefs and guiding us towards our best self. So if you're just starting your business or you've been at it for a while but feel stuck, we got you. Welcome to your safe place. We honor your unique business journey. Here is where you remove your mask, wear your own style of comfort, and get ready to soar. Together, we will grow exponentially and challenge the statistics of how our businesses headed and founded by Black women entrepreneurs, start, grow, and last. So enjoy this great episode and be sure to help us grow by letting your sisters in business know about us so they can also follow us, like us, give us 5 stars, and leave comments. We want to hear from you and know what you want to hear from us. Together, we're going to build a great ecosystem here, impacting the number of Black women-owned businesses that grow and last. All right, sisters, let's jump right into it. So hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Women in Color in Business podcast. Today, we are doing part of our expert series, and we have an expert joining us today. I hope you have your pencils, your pads, your laptops, whatever you take notes with prepared, because one of the reasons I love speaking with this gentleman is because I always learn something new. So I hope you guys are ready to learn some new gems and some new information to help you continue to be successful in your business. We're going to begin by allowing him to introduce himself and his business.
Awesome. Thank you, Lynette. And thank you for inviting me to your podcast. My name is Jonathon Carrington. I am based in the Washington, D.C. area. The name of my business is Atone Therapy, LLC. I am a financial strategy coach and a funding readiness specialist, but I also come from a unique perspective because I'm also a licensed professional counselor, a licensed therapist. And so, for those who are listening, I sit at the intersection of creating structure, but also creating healing. And so, many of the people that I'm working with are entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, and founders, Black and Brown, underserved, under-resourced, particularly those who are in transition. So they could be transitioning out of the 9 to 5, out of corporate, or they could already have an established business and they're looking to get their businesses financially ready so that they can have capital conversations, which is conversations with lenders and funders and investors without having to fall through the traps of scarcity mindset, generational poverty, self-sabotage, self-limiting beliefs, mindset issues. And so me coming from a background of counseling, I can speak to the financial trauma. And I think, Lynette, we talked a little bit about that. And particularly in our community, financial trauma is very real.
Yes.
And there is no spreadsheet, there's no business plan that can fix what's going on in our nervous system. Because if our nervous system is stuck in survival mode, that's where we are. And so we need to make sure that we heal that, process that, and do the work. And so, with my ecosystem of partners, whether it be bookkeepers, whether it be coaches, CFOs, credit experts, CPAs, funders who work in tandem with each other, my goal is to help people don't just start the business, but actually build something that can be sustainable for the
Mm.
future. So
Mm.
that's really um, my bio, or that's
Uh-huh.
where I'm coming at it. So yeah,
Good stuff, good stuff. I love that you shared that. Now, I want to take a little step back and I want you to share a bit about your career journey. Like, how did you get, because you have I find it to be a very unique and a very well-rounded, holistic set of skills and knowledge that is not often found, basically. It's very unique. So I want you to kind of walk us through your career path and the different skills you attain along the way so that my audience can really understand the wealth of knowledge that we're sitting here with as we go from subject to subject. So, yeah.
sure, I can do that. I can help with that. It's such a good question. Um, so early on in my career, I started working in let me just go all the way back to the
Yeah.
beginning, because then we can kind of move our way to the future, or to the present state. So I have a bachelor's degree in theater arts administration from Howard University. So, so in terms of being in that, um, I was in that creative space
Hmm.
with creatives and artists and people that were in the area of storytelling. But I was also a storyteller. I was a very creative individual, but I always wanted to. At that time, I wanted to be in a supportive role. I wanted
Mm.
to help and support the advancement of creativity and art and stuff like that. So I started there, graduated, and then went out into the field at that time. And the type of jobs that I was in were in the nonprofit sector.
Okay.
Because when you think about the arts, and I mean, you get the commercial side, and of course, you have the commercial, the nonprofit side. So I kind of went to the nonprofit side. And in that capacity, I still served in a support role where um, I was working in positions of fundraising, raising capital, raising grants, and raising money for nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
And so, for about 10 years of my career in the beginning, it was really dedicated to working to help arts organizations and even community service organizations raise money via grant writing, setting up financial structures, setting up programs to help to build the capacity in the nonprofit organization. So I was doing that work and I loved it. It was great. It was fun. It was exciting.
Hmm.
It gave me an opportunity to be of service to the community and really understand like the real needs and how, putting together different proposals and things like that to help really make an impact on the communities that we were serving at that particular time. So I really like that work, but the challenge with working in those type of organizations is that you can burn out. Um,
Mm.
Especially if you are a person who is the only one kind of raising money. Especially if you're like, one to two fundraising shop, and maybe you have a CEO and a couple of other staffers, and you don't have um, the right support to help you to kind of sustain that type of work that you're doing and bringing money in. And so for
Mm.
me, I burned out having all that ambition and that energy, but it was really affecting my not just my physical health, but it was also
Mhm.
affecting my mental health.
Mm.
So I had to figure out. So I left the DC area, went back home, and I started over. And I was just trying to figure out. Okay, so I have this fundraising background, I have all this experience. I was experienced when I went back home, but I have to find another position or career that was more aligned. And so I did some soul searching, did some work on myself, and got involved in the ministry. I was doing service back home, still in the service space,
Mm-hmm.
but I came into friendship with someone who was a therapist. He wasn't giving me therapy, but he was introducing me to the mental health field. And
Okay.
at that time, I knew about mental health just from working in nonprofits, but I didn't really go to school for that and then take any
Uh-huh.
classes in that. And so I was a bit resistant, just in my interest. I was just like, I'm not doing that. I am this person and I'm that person. I don't want to listen to people's problems all day long. That's not what I want to do, you know? So I just I was resistant at first, but then he kind of was just like, you have uh you're a unicorn. You have a lot of skills, you have a lot of talents, you have a lot to offer, but you're very good at kind of understanding and listening, and you have natural skills of a counselor. So you might as well just, go back to school and do that and make more money doing that. And so even with the resistance, I went back to school
Uh-huh.
and I went to Liberty University in Virginia. And there I was in the master's program of professional counseling. That's what it was called. And
Mm-hmm.
so I pursued that. Um, and I had to do a whole mindset shift because I didn't study. That was not what was like
Right.
trained in. So went through the program. It took me 4 years to complete it. Got the master's degree in 2019, and then I graduated. And then from there, you had to go through field work, which is about like you have to get like 3,000 hours of clinical supervision. So you
Uh-huh.
have to get your hours in order to get. You have to graduate and then get your hours and then get licensed. So I had to go through this process of becoming a therapist.
Mm.
It took some time for me to do that, and I did it. Got the hours, got my first license around, I want to say it was 2021, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a licensed clinical professional counselor in Maryland first. And then at the same time, I opened up my own private practice around the
Uh-huh.
same time I got licensed. And so it was there where in 2021, when atone therapy was born, and it was born out of the belief of helping us. Literally, atone therapy is for us by us. I really wanted to create a practice that was trauma informed, that was really in the business of Black mental health. That was
Uh-huh.
where I was at that time when I was creating my practice. And then because I was marketing myself as a Black male therapist, a Black therapist with a trauma informed practice that served Black and Brown folks, that's when I started to get people, reaching out to me and was like, oh, I want to work with you. And mind you, Lynette, we're thinking 2020, 2021. So
Uh-huh.
this is also during the time of like George Floyd, right?
Right.
So
Right.
all of that was going on.
Yes.
And so that's when I kind of got into that. And so long story short, so I got involved in a lot of different projects and initiatives and workshops, and was in on speaking engagements talking about Black mental health. That was
Mm-hmm.
where my career started to emerge, and became a therapist. Um and then I got my second license in Virginia, and that allowed me to expand my services. So I still have two licenses, one in Virginia and one in Maryland. And
Okay.
then 4 years later, long story short, still working actively with clients. Most of my clients are Black men, but I also work with Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to kind of jump to this, like in terms of going back to um, the work that I was doing before I became a therapist, because
Right.
I want to say like last year I started to realize that in many of my conversations with clients, I was beginning to have more conversations about money
Mm.
and the intersection of money and trauma
Mm.
within professional Black men and women in corporate spaces, in C-suite um, positions, in executive positions. And I found it to be really interesting. And I thought to myself, okay, well, how about I shift into doing more work to provide support for those who want to transition out of those jobs where, they're experiencing burnout, they're experiencing, uh, and of course, this is also like around the DEI stuff as well. And
Yeah.
it's like, people who are in those positions, and how are you navigating workplace, and then also how are you navigating your career and money. And so that's when I began to kind of shift out of the clinical and talk more about coaching. And so bringing you up to present moment, I'm now kind of working on helping people to not just navigate trauma and all the life transition, but like
Mhm.
uh, focusing on the pivot of strategically thinking about your finances, not even just becoming a money coach or anything like that, but like, how do we begin to create an ecosystem where you can get your healing and you can make this exit out of these toxic environments that you work in and get ready to regain or reclaim autonomy and agency over your life, your energy, your money. And so that's what is giving birth to this new work that I'm working on right now, just helping people to make that transition so that they can become emotionally prepared, they can get fundable, and they can take those next steps into ownership. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I know I shared a lot there, but that's kind of
Right.
that's what the journey has been. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, you
Yeah,
took
yeah,
us through the
yeah.
journey very eloquently. I appreciate that. So,
Yes.
so currently, what you do now? So we had got a chance to gain an understanding of your career background and the
Mhm.
nonprofits and the fundraising there and your transition into the therapy arena
Mhm.
and how you fit into that, and then what you're doing now, which is kind of um, I would say a combination of the two kind of flowing together and providing a
Right.
bridge for individuals who are leaving toxic work environments
Mhm.
to something more aligned with them, but
Right.
having all the emotions that are involved in that process that
Right.
include their emotional connection to money. So if someone's
Right.
transitioning from that work environment, they're saying, okay, I've had enough here. I burnt out. I'm going to go and start this business that has always been on my heart. How do I go from A to Z? How do I really get there and what do I need to know? And
Right.
what are some internal challenges I'm going to have to deal with? Because I always tell my
Right.
entrepreneurs that when you make the decision to do something great and you have any trauma within you that's unresolved, it's going to come to the surface to be dealt with
Right.
before you can really soar in your business. Because that greatness
100%.
that's coming from inside is going to bump up against everything in there, right? So
Right.
when people usually think about I'm going to start a business, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, they're not thinking about the personal growth they're going to
Right.
have to go through, the personal things they're going to have to face in order to be successful. And a
Right.
lot of times I find when entrepreneurs say they're stuck at a certain income level or they're
Mhm.
stuck at a certain production level in their company, they just can't figure out why they can't get past this level. It has nothing to do with the systems. It has to
Right.
do with their system.
Yeah, internal system,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And I think we talked about offline about how um the entrepreneurship, small business ownership is a psychologically and emotionally intense learning environment.
Hmm.
Everything about you will emerge
Yeah.
as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, even in the decision making process of becoming a entrepreneur, that whether it be your thoughts, your emotions, your defects of character, your personality traits, um, your behaviors, your your flaws, everything
Yes.
is showing up, and it will come to the surface because it will challenge you in so many different ways, and just how you know it's been designed, and how it's been structured as far as being an entrepreneur. It is because it's not the same as you going to work into your 9 to 5. And so I wanted to say that, and I also wanted to say that a lot of times the information that we're getting on the outside about entrepreneurship is not completely accurate. It's
Mm,
not grounded in reality.
mm,
And especially when it comes to us, a lot of Black professionals, in terms of our experience in our relationship with work, in our relationship with labor, they're not just leaving a job. They're leaving, we want to provide a trauma-informed aspect to this.
yes.
Black professionals are leaving a survival strategy
Mm,
that has been ingrained deeply for generations. When you think
mm,
about how you understood, how we understood what it meant to go to work, we observed our parents, or we observed our natural environment to see what that meant. And
yeah.
so that 9 to 5 structure was the closest thing to safety and stability.
Mm,
And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, we're asking people to take this risk of what their ancestors, the people who have come before them, had fought so hard to get and to obtain,
yes.
without healing the financial trauma that still is the motivating driver in the decision making process.
Mm,
So if I grew up in an environment where, to me, I watched my mother or my father work hard, 12-hour shifts, nine, that's all they did.
uh-huh.
Um, and on top of that, there was no discussion about money.
Mm,
Money was tight, it was scarce, it was unpredictable, or even was, for some people, from some of us, money was weaponized.
mm,
Um, Money was used as a form of manipulation. And so all of those experiences can shape one's relationship with money, as far as lack, as far as scarcity, as far as fear, shame, urgency, and there's no strategy, there's no safety. So I say all of that, and I'll just kind of pause in a second. Um, so when a client is saying, I want to be my own boss,
right. Today's podcast is being sponsored by our Golden Cowrie Shells Academy, offering the first and only compassionate accounting course for and by Black women in business. Are you a Black woman entrepreneur who hates looking at the numbers, budgeting, and financial reports? You wish you had a partner to explain this difficult language of money to you in simple terms? Then we have created this course for you. Imagine being guided through automating and streamlining your business accounting processes and money pain points. Having all your questions answered by professionals with over 25 years of experience working with entrepreneurs just like you. Being welcome to a safe place where every question is valid and all answers are judgment free. Join our course, Counting Golden Cowrie Shells, the compassionate accounting course Black women in business deserve for building profits, financial freedom, and legacy. Visit our website today for more details and registration. www.wocib.org.
I'm asking the question of, are you building out for vision, or are you trying to escape a system that has failed you?
Mm, Hmm.
because that's a distinction that does matter,
Yes.
because how trauma shows up, it shows up in how you price yourself as
Mm.
a
Come
entrepreneur or
on.
business owner.
Yes,
It
yes.
shows up in the overexertion and overworking.
Mm.
Trauma shows up in uh, financial avoidance or financial secrecy. If you
Mm.
can't even look at your P&L statements, or
Come
you
on.
can't look at your balance sheet or your
Yes.
numbers, and
Yes.
you're just like, oh, okay, I don't want to deal with that. But then you're hemorrhaging,
Mm.
you're hemorrhaging, you have bad credit, you have um, reactive spending, you don't separate your personal from your business expense. Like, all of that is trauma,
Mm.
right? So
Yes. So
so
many
we need
good
to talk
things.
about that.
Yeah, so many delicious things in there that we need to talk about. So
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me see where to start, where to start. Well, the beginning really is when you said, is that person making that decision out of vision or out
Mhm.
of escapism?
Right.
So when they decide I'm going to leave this job and I'm going to start my business, is it because you have a vision for something you want to build, or are you
Right.
just desperate to escape
Hmm.
what you were dealing with
Right.
and you're seeing the business as your way out, right?
Right.
Because those are two totally different type of things you're going to build, right? Because if you have
Right.
no vision, you're just escaping, then
Hmm.
you're in a position of desperation. So
Absolutely.
in that position of desperation, you're saying, I'm going to build a business. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not with all that desperation.
Yeah.
And then you talked about, ooh, the ways that trauma shows up.
Yeah.
Some people, you can't tell some people that all this hustle and grind philosophy is people
Mm.
being traumatized. You can't
Right.
tell them that that notion of just going and never stopping is you
Mm.
busying yourself. You're pouring
Yeah.
yourself into something, not
Right.
even evaluating if what you're doing is the best thing to be doing. Is it the most efficient? Is it the most effective? If it's
Right.
is it the activity that's going to bring you clients and make you money? You're just
Right.
doing,
Right.
and you believe in that doing, that's enough, or that's enough to keep
Mm.
my mind busy enough that I don't have to deal with what's really bothering me, right? If I stay
Right.
busy, because
Hmm.
some people tend to glorify busyness. They're
Yeah, that's true.
you're working, you work all the time. You
Yeah.
always hustling. You get those pats
Hmm.
on the back and those wow comments because you're just busy doing stuff. But
Yeah.
you're afraid to actually look at the numbers of what you're building or supposedly
Yeah.
building, right? And
Right.
my background is accounting, so
Hmm.
I've worked with so many entrepreneurs. I cannot tell you
Right.
entrepreneurs who are making millions a year, been in business
Right.
for 15, 25 years, don't
Hmm.
understand their financials,
Right.
haven't really ever in all those years sat down and looked at their processes for dealing with their money, right?
Hmm.
So that trauma is real, that avoidance is real.
Yeah.
Wow, you talked about something else you said about trauma. You said that work
Underpricing,
oh,
overworking.
that was it right there.
Yeah, underpricing. Mhm.
Underpricing.
Yeah.
Feeling so either feeling so unworthy that you underpriced or feeling
Mm.
so desperate or a mixture of the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either who's going to pay me to do this or I just need to make some sales. I just need to be able to say I had a win. So let me make it so low
Mm-hmm.
that somebody, anybody, right, would say yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It goes back to the desperation that you mentioned. And I think with a lot of us, I mean, some of us, and this is not a judgment, this is not an indictment. It's just a descriptive language that is being described to apply to the experience in terms of undercharging or underpricing, and this belief, like you mentioned, like we don't believe that we're worthy for more. And that comes out of a scarcity mindset. And a lot of that is emotional. And especially, when you're starting a business, the business is not about you. The business is about the business. It's you're creating this service or this product in the marketplace. But I think oftentimes we have a tendency to project our
Mm,
emotionality into the numbers,
yes.
and the numbers are the numbers, right? And so you don't, and I think oftentimes this is why we have to separate ourselves out of what it is that we do. Um, and even people who haven't done that healing journey with their job that they were in, is in terms of their salary or their compensation, and really looking at that. But that's a carryover into the entrepreneurial world too, because you haven't really figured out what is your value proposition, your unique value proposition, and what is it that um, makes your products or services more valuable to the customer versus, oh, I don't know if I want to charge this. I don't know if I, because of a feeling or emotion that tends
Right.
to come up, which is
That's a
which is
very
a
good
trauma
point.
response.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Making it something emotional as opposed to something that's market driven. Okay.
market
So,
driven, right?
yeah, what is the going rate for what the value that I'm giving versus
Yes,
how much do I feel like I
right,
deserve to be paid for this? Because that's
right. There you
really
go.
what you're saying. How much do I
Yeah,
feel like, how capable do I feel like I am? And it might be the truth might be that you are over capable, right?
yeah,
That job may have never paid you what you were worth based
right.
on
There you
what
go.
you were given. So if you come
Right.
from a place where you were underpaid and overworked, over here in
Mm-hmm.
your business, that mindset didn't change overnight. Just
It
because you
didn't.
left yesterday and you're over here
Right.
today, you
Yeah.
still have those issues to deal with, right? You
Right.
was
Right. Yeah.
overworked, underpaid, you were stressed, you have
Mm-hmm.
you were traumatized in that way, and you need to be healed from that in order
Yeah.
to be able to separate your what you are valuing for yourself from what your service or product is valued at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
take out
Absolutely.
that emotional part and make it more of business decisions.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got it. So good. It is that. And and in terms of us working with the client, it's more of just like, well, how is the financial trauma showing up in all these different areas in the people that we're supporting, and what healing or re-education or information needs to happen before someone can even receive
Yes.
entrepreneurship as an opportunity, because it's a whole different space.
Mm,
It's not, this is, you left your job, the job is no longer there anymore. You need to, or you may be still in your job, but this is a separate entity that you need to manage, and you need to make sure that the entity and the products and services are in alignment with the market that you're serving. So I think that that's what that, whether it be coaching or whether it be therapy or whether it be whatever it is to clear up that energy,
right.
can really, really help someone move out of that fog state, and into clarity, into confidence, into objective reasoning, logical, rational thinking, and that's
Right.
where we want to get the entrepreneur, so
Exactly. And
yeah,
to that point, when I think about that, I think about how like one of the first steps of building a business you will hear is to build a business plan, right?
yeah.
And in that business plan, it tells you to look at your competition, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would say, "Well, I don't have any competition. There's no one else doing exactly what I want to do." And part of the business plan process is to really just take you through a thought process of looking at the different areas of your business you're going to have to deal with. And a lot of people want to resist going through that thought process because it's not all fun and games. It's not the
Yeah.
part they love doing. It's
Right.
uh it's when you think about a company and all the different departments in a company, you now as that solopreneur are required to wear all those different hats. And you might not like most of that stuff that's done within the company, right? Because in your job, you had one position. You had one job title at that job and you had one thing to do. But now you're having to expand that as a business owner. And I think a business plan is the first place where you have to face that, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
requiring you to do research on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to start realizing how much you do or don't like marketing. You're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
do research on your competitors. So you're going to have to think beyond well, nobody does this like me. You're going to have to think beyond that and realize you're not the first person on planet Earth doing this. As much as you want to believe that, you're not. So
Mm-hmm.
doing that research and see who your true competitors are, looking at the numbers of what the market, how is what you're offering being priced in the market? Because part of having a business is you want to make profit, right? You want to make money. So you really want to understand what should my prices be to make money? What are my expenses going to be? So some of the basic things that are being avoided in a business, and you can spend time being busy working at the part of the business you love, right? If it's something I love making, if I'm a painter and I love painting, I don't want to think about what my supplies cost. I'm just going to put them on the credit card and make some paintings and they're going to sell, right? I don't want
Yeah.
to do the research to figure out what do people really want to buy.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that goes into entrepreneurship that
Mm-hmm.
at first glance most people don't get.
Yeah.
And then at a deeper glance, most people don't connect their
Mm-hmm.
challenges to unresolved trauma or trauma
Yeah.
that's coming up.
Yeah. And yeah, and I think it's a both and conversation, which is why I'm loving this conversation with you because what you're talking about, whether it be avoidance, whether it be the resistance, bumping up against the prick, being like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to because you're providing the planning, the organization, you're going to the part of the brain where it's tapping into the executive functioning, which tends to be a bit blocked because of the trauma, right, in the
Mm,
brain. And so it's almost like you're asking first generation wealth builders, if that's the to make CEO level decision making
mm,
with the entrepreneurship without CEO level safety nets,
mm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like you're a kindergartner in a college classroom trying to learn the material and you're dealing with not just a kindergartner, it's a kindergartner who's lived through trauma. So I think that's why you can't ignore the traumatized part of this because yes, you can give someone a budget, you can give someone a business plan, you can give someone funding, but if they haven't healed that trauma around money, they will engage in self-sabotage,
Mm,
they will engage in aggressive behavior, they will engage in explosive behavior. I don't want to do that. It's like the body is just like overwhelmed and overburdened to the point of like, what are you trying to do? Or what are you trying to say? And so I think that's where like what I'm trying to create is like even bringing your resources in because the ecosystem that I'm trying to form with the work that I'm doing is to support both the financial structure, business planning, the budgeting, the bookkeeping, all of that, but also the nervous system, the therapy, the coaching, whatever it is that is needed to kind of work through that stuff. Because we don't just help people just get funded or fundable. You have to become a steward
mm,
of the capital that you're receiving with going back to vision, going back to clarity,
mm,
going back to resilience. So it's a holistic framework, it's a holistic model where it's a both and situation.
Yes,
And perhaps that can address some of the challenges with people who may be kind of resistant to following through on their business plan, or
yes,
who may be resistant in just developing a business plan because
right.
they've never had to plan around
Mm,
money or
mm,
business.
yes.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. So one of the things that I do is I have created courses for radical self-love because exactly what we're talking about. I've realized that entrepreneurs come to these emotional points and they're feeling stuck and they can't go forward or can't go higher and they can't understand why. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, my radical self-love courses brings them to a place where they can stop, breathe, and dig into what's really going on. What are you really feeling? What's really going on with you? What's really causing you to be stuck? What are your limiting beliefs? How are you
Hmm.
taking care of you? How are you feeling your worthiness?
Yeah.
What's going on in your nervous system? In addition
Hmm.
to that, I'm doing a course for compassionate business accounting
Wow.
for those
So,
who um, have never had someone to non-judgmentally talk to them about the money in their business, how to handle it, how to calculate it, what financial reports are, and to break it down to them in terms that they can relate to and understand. Because I recall when I was in college and I had some college professors that they really knew the material. They could talk about it all day long, but they could not teach it. They could not break it down to you,
right.
and they didn't feel like they had to. So after class, me and my classmates, we would have to go and form a study group to break down what we learned in class. So on our own, we had to find other students who already understood the material to break it down for us. And that's a lot of what happens to business owners when it comes to their
Right.
finances.
I
Whoever their
agree.
CPA, their accountant, whoever's
Mhm.
doing their taxes does not take the time to break it down to them. Um, and a lot of times make them feel stupid for not understanding something that they themselves had to go to college to learn, right? They had
Yeah.
to get a degree and certifications and licenses to learn it, but they're
Hmm.
making the business owner feel like, well, you should understand this. So most of them avoid it. And I
Yeah.
love that you say what you've created is a holistic ecosystem
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
not that we're just talking about these issues and saying what the entrepreneur can't do or what the entrepreneur issues are. What we're doing here is we're acknowledging them in a way that I don't think has ever been acknowledged before, right?
No.
And we're saying we're not just acknowledging them because we see and we understand, but
Hmm.
we have also created solutions, right? So we're
Right.
acknowledging them with we care about it. It's real, right?
Right.
Don't feel like don't feel like you're unusual because you're going through this and it's confusing to you and you don't understand it and you find yourself reacting this way. Just understand that there should be a solution for you. Like you said, first generation wealth builders are being
Right.
expected to be a successful CEO when all they've ever done was be an employee. So
Right.
you're being expected to step into this arena, and we're not even talking about the societal things that happen to us
Right.
as Black and brown people that
Right.
are created to make us feel less than. So dealing
Right.
with all those layers too, you're stepping into this arena. You need a holistic approach around
Yeah.
you to help you succeed, right?
Right. 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 Absolutely. I love everything you just shared. And that's it. I mean, and it's beautiful that you are in the financial space, like you're an accountant, but you're offering trauma-informed accounting, which is remarkable, because where do you find that is so unique. And even in just leading with love, self-love, because that is the intervention, right?
Mhm.
Because people who have been traumatized are seeking safety. So this type of intervention is very disruptive in
Mm.
its ability to offer a safe space to express, talk, and work through some of these issues. And um for the individual, because there are systemic forces at work. And even in my conversations with financial professionals, they are trained not to consider the human. They're
Mm.
trained to consider the money aspect first, and the transactional nature in which they deliver services. And I have to tell you, I mean, I talked to countless financial professionals that have never heard of what I do or have ever heard of any type of integrated model that considers the human being first. And
Mm.
so that's why they have been taking stock to what I'm doing, because I just had a conversation with someone recently that works in the financial space, and I write as well. So I wrote a piece related to the title of the piece was about how financial literacy is often weaponized against the Black community.
Mhm.
It was a very evocative piece
Mhm.
about the ways in which banking institutions and different financial institutions come into the Black community to deliver these workshops and these classes and seminars that are not trauma informed, they're not culturally informed, and they're talking at the people instead of to the people,
Mm.
and not really meeting them where they are. And
Uh-huh.
so that's what the piece was talking about, because we have, as a Black community, historical trauma, whether it be banking discrimination, whether it be redlining, whether it be
Yes.
predatory lending, whether it be
Mm.
undercapitalization, whether it be generational poverty. We have a lot in our community that is pertaining to our relationship with money and these institutions that signal distrust or mistrust. And
Yes.
we can't ignore that or dismiss that or overlook that. And so, and even with just lack of accessibility to different programs and resources. So coming into a community and just saying, here are these, giving a menu of services and
Yes.
thinking that the community is just going to just eat it up. It's like, that's unrealistic.
Mm.
That's not even safe to even do.
Right.
It's very violent,
Right.
so, and we're talking about generations and generations of Black folks who probably have experienced this by these institutions that just are tone deaf.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're offering this service is um, where it just hits different than just
Mm.
technical accounting or technical financial support. And so
Right.
so that's why I'm just fascinated by what you're doing. And I just sent someone your way, and I got excited because I was like, I know that she is going to be in good hands if she ever reaches out to you. Like, I can tell. It's like, you're not just going to go to an accountant, you're going to go to someone that gets it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So,
Yes.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
for that.
Absolutely.
You were talking, I was thinking earlier about I really love what you said about the banking institutions, how they come with this list of things, because I remember when I was starting my entrepreneur journey, going to these workshops, and they would always say it was a workshop about getting funded. And they would say, they would throw the word grants in there, but it was really a
Yeah.
lot of loans. So you go because they said grants, but it's really
Hmm.
banks talking about loans.
Right.
And the information that they gave, nothing that they nothing that they said made me feel like this is for me. Like this, nothing
Right.
that they said made me feel like this would work for me. It made me feel
Right.
like I'm in the wrong place. This is not,
Hmm.
I guess, the way my business is, I would never qualify for a bank loan because nothing
Right.
that they listed or they sound like they must be looking for people who've been in business for 25, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And not me. I'm in
Hmm.
the wrong place.
Right.
But additional to that, I know that you have out of this, seeing this need, you've created something that will help a business see like an initial assessment to see where they
Mm-hmm.
stand as it applies to being prepared for funding. So someone who's like, well, I want to know based on where my business is now, am I prepared for funding, or are there some activities I need to do or things I need to put in place before
Mm-hmm.
I go apply for funding? So tell us a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about that.
Absolutely. So what you're describing is a tool, a proprietary tool that I've developed alongside, private equity investors, lenders, and investors. And it's a tool to um, de-risk the client's business model. It's a tool to help them to clean up their infrastructure, to help them with mindset, to have it's a preparatory work to have a funding conversation with the lender or an investor before you submit an application, and not just access funding, not just apply for funding, but really go into the conversation with the funder and really have everything tightened up before you get there. A lot of times, and when you look at the statistics of people who get denied and rejected from funds, is
Mhm.
because they're unprepared.
Mm,
And so part of the preparedness is to what we've done is create a diagnostic that identifies the structural gaps and
mm,
mindset blocks and any other issue that is keeping an entrepreneur stuck or a business
mm,
owner stuck.
mm,
And the work is really rooted in helping to ground the person or the client out and I think with us, I think ambition is great. I think aspiration is wonderful. We
mhm.
are emotional, spiritual, energy people, right?
Yes.
But those financial folks, even with the greatest of empathy and compassion, they
Yeah,
don't care.
right.
They care about the numbers, and they have a little bit of it, but I'm just saying, just from the, this idea of like, okay, these people are going to give me money in order to fund my, it doesn't really work that way. And so this is a tool to kind of create another layer
Yeah.
so that you can talk to a credit specialist, you can talk to a CFO, and usually these are people that look like us. You can talk to a operations person or HR person, or you can talk to a legal person, but you're getting all of your ducks in a row to get
Mm,
ready for these conversations for capital.
got
So
it.
that's really what the tool is designed to do, to make sure that you're not only fundable, but that you are building out something for the exit, your potential exit of your business.
I love
So
that.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that for the exit of your business. So what you're speaking to right now is instead of going in to apply for a loan and going in with just your passion, like, I
Right.
love this, I know I can do this, this is
Hmm.
where I see my business in 5 years. You're
Yeah.
actually going in prepared because you
Hmm.
have diagnose where your business is. You have a
Right.
chance to look at where it needs to be for you to
Right.
qualify for funding. So you have a chance to
Hmm.
make corrections, to put things in place, and you
Right.
have a better understanding of where
Right.
your business stands in
Right.
regards to being approved for funding.
Right.
So I love that
Exactly.
because most of the times we go in blind. We're like, we're waiting for them to tell us what they need to see. Like,
Yeah.
this is what
Exactly.
I got. What do you need to see from me? As opposed to going in there already equipped, knowing, I got this, this, and this in order.
Right. And in that waiting period, the underwriter has already decided that the proposal is going in the trash because they've
Mm,
already told me. I have a person that works with all the banks and the different places, and they've said to me, they get proposals and applications all the time, but it's about character, it's about mindset, it's about readiness. They have a whole set of criteria that
mm,
they're looking at before they even think about the conversation about funding. And so that's where I come in to provide this tool to really kind of screen out and vet. And then the system has a tiered system. It's like red, yellow, and green.
uh-huh.
And so if there is like things that come up in, and it's like a 12-point scoring system. So if
Uh-huh.
there's things that come up in the readiness or the readiness diagnostic, we can kind of refer uh, the client to different people. So say if it's red and they need credit issues, we have a credit person. Or if they
Okay.
need coaching, go to the coach. If they're making a lot of if they're making cash flow, but they still need some structure in place, go see a CFO, go
Mm-hmm.
see a bookkeeper. Or maybe they're already ready to go and they're really ready to look for investment. We send it straight to the investor and we start the application process.
I got you. And what I love about that is when you apply for a loan from a bank and they tell you you're denied, you're not approved, they don't
Mhm.
tell you who you need to go see or what you need to do to get approved, right?
No.
So you're saying this diagnostic, it tell not only is it telling you you need to improve your credit, you need to get your numbers done more properly, you need a bookkeeper, or you
Right.
need XYZ. It's not just telling you what you need and sending you on your way.
Right.
It's telling you what you need and giving you the connections to the
Right.
sources that can
Right.
give you that, that can
Right.
that can
Exactly.
that can solve that issue for you and help you with that.
Right.
That's a really big
Exactly.
deal. That's a really big deal.
Yeah. Exactly. For example, I sent someone your way because, she scored yellow on
Mhm,
the readiness tier, and she's not making a lot of cash flow right now, but she needs some like really like basic accounting, and
mhm.
she's a Black woman. I know that's your target demographic. And
Yes.
so I thought of you, and I said, okay, I wrote up the email or wrote up a text to be able to say, okay, this is what's going on and this is what's happening with your current situation. You may want to talk to Lynette over here, and she can
Mhm.
kind of help you with, that. And then you can reach back out to us when you're at like 10 to 15K in, cash flow, like monthly revenue,
Got it.
because that's when you can really start thinking about scaling and
Mhm.
growth. And she was fine with that. And so,
Mhm.
I think that's what people need. People just need a bit more
Yeah.
guidance, direction,
Yeah.
that type of
They
thing.
just
So,
want to know, what do I need to do?
right,
And if they can see a way, okay, you're not there yet, but this would get you there. Not
right,
only would this get you there, but here are some sources, some resources for you to
right,
utilize to help you get there, right? You're not,
right,
we're not throwing you out there to figure it out on your own because
right,
we already have so much to figure out on our own.
right,
So I
exactly.
appreciate that. That is
Yeah.
great. I love that. So you have to um tell us, I'll be sure to put in the show notes how our audience can get their hands on that
Yeah.
diagnostic. So,
Yeah, I can send you the link, and
okay.
it's a very short diet. It's no frills, there's no fluff.
Hmm.
It's 10 minutes. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out,
Great.
and you just put in the information, and then and that's it. It's just that simple, and people can share it with their networks and the people that are interested, and yeah. So that's really pretty much it. I don't want to kind of complicate it or add
Right.
all the different bells and whistles,
Right.
because we are already overwhelmed
Yes.
and with
Yes.
so
Yes.
much. So it's just like,
Right.
yeah. So that's pretty much what that is, and happy to share that with your audience.
That's great. I appreciate
Yeah.
that you simplified it because a lot of
Yeah.
things we apply for, they're just overcomplicated.
Yeah.
They're just 10 pages long and you're
Hmm.
like, well, when am I going to get to the end of this and how much more do you want to know? And like,
Right.
so the fact that you simplified it for us is wonderful. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So before we close out, Jonathan, is there anything else that you had on your mind that you might want to share that maybe I didn't ask the question, but you want to share with the audience?
Um, I just think that, as a closing, I will just say, as we're doing this podcast, I just want us to really think about how can we create more systems where Black and Brown folks can get the healing that they need, structure, organization, and scaling before they make any decision to go into entrepreneurship or business ownership or any of that, or even just thinking about what you want to do even with your money, even if it's about retirement or buying a home.
Right.
You need all these things in place, right, in
Mm-hmm.
order to maintain and manage those entities or those assets. And so I wanted to say that, in how can we co-create something that addresses the inner world but also the outer world of
Mm.
entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to our people, and whether it's Black women, Black men, Black children.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we begin to build relationships with, and if those people are listening to in as well, how do we build relationships with capital partners, funders, lenders,
Mm.
and investors that are trauma informed and that do
Right.
understand the services that we offer, right? Um, that are ready to stop pushing access to all
Mm.
of our resources without addressing the trauma.
Mm.
Because I think we both want to address that, whether it's your self-love coaching or my financial therapy or
Right.
coaching and all the work that I'm doing on this end with readiness. Like, join us. Like, let's collaborate, let's talk, let's network in that capacity. And so that's what I wanted to kind of leave with and share. And you can find me at my website is my first and last name, www.jonathancarrington.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well. You can find me at my first name, last name. So that's pretty much it. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, Lynette.
Me
This has
too. I
been
always enjoy
really
talking with
good.
you.
Yeah, this has been really good. And hopefully we
Yeah.
can keep the momentum
I
going for
hope so.
sure.
Yeah, let's keep the
Yeah.
keep the convo going, people, and
Yes.
be sure to let us know what else you want to know about. Let us know if this helped you any, if you had some insights or some aha moments you really want to know. And we definitely want to keep this going and growing for the benefit of all of our people. So thank
Yes.
you again, Jonathan, for spending your
Thank you.
time with us today, sharing all your expertise, your perspective, and we appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Today's podcast is being sponsored by Your 90-Day Success Journal for Black Women Entrepreneurs by Lynette Cottrell. The journal is available on Amazon. It's inclusive of monthly goals, weekly and daily goals, affirmations, self-care practices, and inspiring quotes from other Black women. Be sure to get your copy today. Your 90-Day Success Journal. Hey sis, so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got some great gems today from our beautiful Black woman entrepreneur. You got inspired to go do more. You got re-energized and refreshed. We want you to take the best care of yourself. It is our deep belief that we as Black women entrepreneurs deserve to build our wealth without sacrificing our joy or our health. So we deserve to have the joy, the health, and the wealth. And we love helping you to get there. Again, be sure to leave a comment, rate our podcast, and share it with another beautiful Black woman that you know of. Visit our website at www.wocib.org and check out the great merch we have there for you and the workshops. We're working on some wonderful things for you. All right? We look forward to staying in touch, and until next time, be well.